Bruce Banner has a relatively small direct family. It happens when your best party trick is turning into a gamma-irradiated green ball of rage. But through his time in Marvel Comics, he has accumulated quite the roster of human, alien, and gamma-mutated companions. Today on Top 10 Nerd, I'm going to attempt to explain the Hulk family tree. Starting off with the One Below All. The One Below All is the dark side and a part of the same being known as the One Above All, who is the supreme ruler of the multiverse and the supreme embodiment of creation and compassion, which would make the One Below All the ultimate personification of destruction and hate. It resides in the lowest point of reality, called the Below Place, from which it rules. Sealed off from the rest of the multiverse through the metaphysical green doors, it manifests in other realities through extreme gamma, which is the mutagenic third form of gamma radiation. This radiation is what creates gamma mutates based off the individual's genetic and psychological makeup. Before we move on though, hey guys, if you're enjoying this channel, dropping a like is all you have to do to help us out. We would really appreciate it. But now, on to the man himself, Bruce Banner. Incredible Hulk #1 from 1962 introduced Dr. Robert Bruce Banner to the Marvel Universe and gave us the very first gamma mutate. During a routine test of the gamma bomb he developed, Bruce spotted a teenager named Rick Jones in the blast radius and he took it upon himself to save Rick's life. He succeeded, but his bomb's explosion opened the first green door, which is a metaphysical barrier into the Below Place, and infused him with gamma radiation, turning him into the Grey Hulk. Now over time, Hulk's skin eventually turned green, thanks to some real-world mix-ups, and he became more childlike. In Incredible Hulk #377, the Green and Grey Hulks merged with Bruce to become a new incarnation, Professor Hulk. But these three different incarnations of Hulk are just a few of the personalities that live in Bruce's fractured mind, and not all of them are good people. On to Bruce's family, starting with Brian Banner and Rebecca Banner. While Bruce is naturally the core figure in this family tree, the roots of the Hulk's rage come from his father, Brian Banner, and without him, there would honestly be no Hulk. If there's a villain in this story, it's Brian. He physically and emotionally mistreated his wife Rebecca Banner and their son. As seen in Incredible Hulk #312 from 1968, Brian became deeply disturbed and obsessed with the idea that his radiation research had turned his son Bruce into a monster. Brian was even responsible for the passing of Rebecca in front of Bruce, which led directly to the development of multiple personalities for Bruce and the Hulk. Years later, during the Chaos War, Brian actually emerged on Earth as a fearsome devil Hulk of his own before he was defeated and returned to the afterlife. More recently though, Brian made a lot of trouble in Immortal Hulk as a servant of the One Below All, and he even gained the ability to possess other gamma-infected human beings. Now Brian Banner himself had two sisters, but the one we want to talk about is Elaine Banner Walters and her husband Morris Walters. Their daughter, the lawyer Jennifer Walters, is Bruce Banner's first cousin and probably the closest thing he has to a sibling. It just so happened that as Bruce was seeking legal aid from Jennifer, she was nearly killed during an assassination attempt. Bruce saved her life by giving her an emergency blood transfusion, but as a result, she became the She-Hulk. Although she started out as a bit of a savage She-Hulk when she first appeared on issue 1 of her comic in 1980, Jen's personality eventually became dominant when she was in her gamma-powered form. In fact, she actually prefers being She-Hulk and put her skills to use as an Avenger and member of the Fantastic Four at one point. In case you've missed any of the ads, she is also the focus of the MCU's She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Now the first love of Bruce's life was Betty Ross, the daughter of General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Betty and her father both actually became Hulks as well. For Betty, the villain MODOK realized that her exposure to Bruce Banner set her up as an ideal subject to become a new Hulk. In Incredible Hulk #168 from 1968, Betty was transformed, but not into another She-Hulk. Instead, she actually turned into a terrifying Harpy who hated the Hulk for the passing of her husband at the time, Glenn Talbot. Betty was soon cured of her Harpy persona, but she was ultimately killed by exposure to Axis gamma radiation by the Abomination. Fortunately for her though, MODOK and the Intelligentsia resurrected Betty and she became the Red She-Hulk. However, in the Immortal Hulk series, Betty once again has been transformed into the Red Harpy. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Now, as for her father, no one hated Bruce Banner more than Betty's father, General Thunderbolt Thaddeus Ross, a military general who became obsessed with stopping the Hulk at any cost. That's why it took everyone by surprise when Ross actually turned out to be the Red Hulk, who is a fiery and power-draining gamma mutate. Ross made the mistake of partnering with the intelligentsia, who tricked him and turned him into the Red Hulk, using energy siphoned off of the original Hulk. Ross embraced his newfound Hulk powers, proving to be an incredibly powerful and capable hero. Bruce and Ross eventually did make an alliance to take down the intelligentsia, and Red Hulk was actually invited to join the Avengers. Ross was eventually depowered, but as of Captain America number 26 from 2018, he is once again the Red Hulk. Now, when the Hulk was banished from Earth by the Illuminati during Planet Hulk, he crash-landed on the planet Sakaar, which is where the Hulk met his second wife, Kaira. Although Kaira appeared to die in the destruction of Sakaar, she actually gave birth to Bruce/Hulk's first children, Scar and Hero Kala. Scar became an incredibly powerful warrior with a vendetta against his father, but thankfully Scar and Bruce reconciled before becoming a formidable father and son team. Unfortunately for Hero Kala, his taste for power and vengeance corrupted him, and he also nearly destroyed the Earth in Incredible Hulk's number 617, before his father and brother sealed Hero Kala within the center of an alien planet. Hulk's other daughter is a bit trickier to explain. The short version is that Lyra is a daughter of the Hulk and Thundra from the alternate future timeline of Earth 715, where only 5% of the female population were fertile. Hulk and Thundra were never actually a couple. Instead, Thundra collected the Hulk's DNA from his saliva during a fight and immediately traveled back to her alternate future, where she used that DNA to create Lyra, who is basically a She-Hulk, and actually gets weaker the angrier she gets instead of stronger, meaning she has to reach a meditative state to reach peak power. Now, Lyra eventually came to live in the present alongside the Hulk, Jennifer Walters, and her extended Hulk family. Finally, in terms of Hulk romances, we have Jarella, the princess of the subatomic kingdom of Kai. She was never married to the Hulk or Bruce, but she loved both halves of him very much, and he also loved her. Their bond was so important that Jarella definitely is included on this list, despite the fact that she tragically passed away before they could wed. From Hulk's actual family to those who are essentially his family by association, his friends and allies, starting with none other than Rick Jones. If not for Bruce's timely rescue, Rick Jones could have been the first Hulk, but instead, he was spared from that fate and became one of Bruce Banner's closest and most trusted friends. In Incredible Hulk number 325 in 1962, Rick did actually get a little taste of Hulk power when he fell into a chemical pool that was being used to merge Bruce and the Hulk back into a single being once again. Rick emerged as a Hulk, but he was cured a few chapters later in issue number 332. It wouldn't last long though, as thanks to the meddling of the intelligentsia yet again, Rick was mutated into a new version of Abomination in Hulk number 2 in 2008. As this new Abomination, Rick actually retained most of his personality, and so he renamed himself A-Bomb so he could be a bit more heroic, which was a good choice, Rick. Good job. Rick was also horrendously mutated in Immortal Hulk before his humanity was finally restored in the limited series Gamma Flight from 2021. Doc Sasquatch, or Doc Samson. Doc Samson is one of the few members of the Hulk/Gamma family who willingly transformed himself. It happened in Incredible Hulk number 141 in 1962 when Bruce Banner was temporarily cured of his Hulk persona by removing the excess radiation from his body. Samson couldn't resist taking that power for himself, but he wasn't turned into a full Hulk. Instead, he was given superhuman strength and a striking head of green hair, likely due to his psychological makeup with him wanting to be a hero. In Immortal Hulk, Doc Samson got trapped in the below place and instead resurrected into the body of Walter Lankowski, also known as Sasquatch. He then became a green-haired version of the Sasquatch. Despite his great strength, Samson's greatest contribution to the Marvel Universe has been in actually as a therapist for heroes and villains in need. During the event World War Hulk, Amadeus Cho was one of the few heroes who stood by the Hulk in his battle against the Illuminati. This was fueled by Amadeus' unshakable assertion that the Hulk is actually a hero and not a monster. Now, years later, in Totally Awesome Hulk #1 from 2015, Amadeus got his wish to become a Hulk as well. As revealed in issue #4, Amadeus absorbed the excess gamma radiation from Bruce, saving his life while transforming Amadeus in the process. It was a burden that he was more than happy to accept. However, not even Amadeus' intellect and personality could keep the negative aspects of being a Hulk at bay forever. After briefly losing control of his other self, Amadeus willingly depowered himself, but he still retains a significant amount of gamma powers as an agent of Atlas. The Juggernaut, Agamemnon, Glenn Talbot, the Red King, MODOK, Ravage, Wendigo, the UFOs, with a special shout out to Absorbing Man, are all villains that come into conflict with the Hulk. We have already talked about his longest lasting foe, Thunderbolt Ross, or the Red Hulk, but what about his other big bads? Starting with probably the most iconic of the Incredible Hulk's rogues gallery is the one and only Abomination. A dark mirror image of the Hulk, former soldier Emil Blonsky becomes the monstrous Abomination in an attempt to stop the Hulk, being mutated by a gamma machine that was created by Bruce Banner. On countless occasions, Abomination has taken on the Hulk in a one-on-one match. While he's lost time and time again, there have been times where he did give the Hulk a run for his money and even took down the people Hulk loves and cares for. Abomination makes for a fantastic villain, and there's a reason Marvel keeps bringing him back. For someone like the Hulk, a villain with higher intelligence is far greater than someone with equal strength. Samuel Stearns was once a normal man who was exposed to a high level of gamma radiation just like mostly everyone else. The radiation gave him increased intelligence, a really big head, literally, and turned him into the leader. A foe who has time and time again outsmarted and worked around the likes of the Hulk. The leader's almost always 5 steps ahead of Bruce Banner and manages to bring the Hulk down despite his immense strength. And lastly, it honestly makes sense that the most terrifying foe for the Incredible Hulk is actually himself. While the Abomination can be seen as a dark reflection of the Hulk, the Maestro is literally a future evil version of himself. Coming from one of the comic's best Hulk story arcs, Future Imperfect, the Maestro is the last hero who survived an apocalypse and set himself to become the ruler of dystopia. Stronger than his past self and with all the intelligence of Bruce Banner, the Maestro has proved himself to be the strongest and most brutal Hulk villain out there. And there you have it, the key players in the life of Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk. I've been your host, Adam Andrews. This is Top 10 Nerd, and until next time, stay safe out there, nerds. Toodles.